Hello, FPL managers. Welcome to the FPL Optimized podcast. This is episode number 70. So it's a bit of a milestone, even though I don't think we'll get a badge for it. We'll probably have to wait for number 100. But nonetheless, it's great to have reached number 70. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. Well, I had a terrible game week 16, so I would prefer to skip our weekly review, but I guess I can't avoid it. So, yeah, short up, let's start with you. How did your game week go?
My game week went well. I finished with 66 points, and then I'm in 19k overall rank now.
Oh, wow, that's
Um,
great.
yeah, it's great. So the last game of the game week, like Tottenham's game, actually turned the game week around quite a bit. It's Son giving 17 points, and
Yeah.
then from Pedro Porro I got 5. Besides that, obviously Salah captaincy was big, and I was really excited about what the potential increase will be or the size of the green arrow. But then
Yeah.
we learned Holland is not even in the squad, so
Yeah.
everyone got Salah. Almost everyone got Salah as their captain, vice
Almost
captain.
everyone.
Almost everyone. I'm sorry, boss.
Yeah. Right.
So suddenly his like effective ownership jumped quite a bit, so that the impact I got from his captaincy is reduced. But I don't complain much. I got a green arrow at the end, and then I was also checking your score, and then I said, "Oh no, Boss will be really, really sad this episode. What happened?"
Yeah, I was sad. Yeah, during the weekend. Yeah, what happened? I don't know. Well, I didn't have the vice captaincy armband on Salah. I had it on Darwin. So yeah, I think on the one hand, that's probably a lesson for me to give the vice captaincy a bit more consideration. But on the other hand, it was a bit intentional as well, I must say, because yeah, it was quite sure that Darwin would start and I didn't mind to take a punt in the game against Palace. So, of course, in hindsight, we can say that was not so smart. And for sure, it didn't work, but okay, it is what it is. And on top, well, I don't own Son, so that also didn't help. You just mentioned it. Son had a great game, final game of the weekend against Newcastle. I don't think we expected a big score there, but the Spurs really did well and Son 2 assists and a goal, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's Son is 37% owned, so that also had a big impact for me. So yeah, the end result was 34 points and a game week rank of 6.6 million. So yeah, that's really bad. And I think I can say now officially that my season is quite ruined.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll keep trying. I'll keep challenging myself to keep making gains and try to end as high as possible. Let's see.
Yeah, I
So
believe in you.
okay, thank you. Yeah, let's switch attention then to the upcoming game week. Let's start with our fixture ticker. Did
Sure.
you observe any noticeable differences? And let's just take a look at the best teams here.
Yeah, certainly. So we have Manchester City at the top of our fixture ticker. They have the best fixtures or best projected point averages, I should say.
Yeah.
They are playing against Crystal Palace this game week, which is a great game. They have a blank in 18, and then they are playing against Everton in 19, Sheffield United in 20, Newcastle in 21, and then Burnley in 22. All of them are
Wow.
making it to the top 10 percentile in our
Yeah.
fixture ticker. So all of them are
Right.
good fixtures, both defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
And then in the second rank, we have Arsenal playing against Brighton. Uh, so in our fixture ticker, it is marked as a favorable fixture offensively, but not defensively.
Yeah.
And then they also have, in this horizon, they have West Ham in 19, and then Crystal Palace in 21, and then Nottingham Forest in 22. So four
Hmm.
out of 6 fixtures are favorable.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
so Liverpool at the third place, and their
Yeah.
only favorable fixture is actually this game week against Manchester United, and it is
Okay.
favorable offensively. Um,
Yeah.
this looks like a trend. I think we will have a look at the Gameweek Odds in a second too.
Yeah.
Looks like most models are assuming that Manchester United's defense is much worse than what it was.
Yeah.
So it's marked as a like favorable fixture offensively, and then
Yeah.
again we will see. But Salah is the optimal captain in most models.
Okay.
In fourth place, we have Chelsea playing against Sheffield United. Obviously, a good
Hmm.
fixture defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
And then following the order, we have Newcastle, Aston Villa, Tottenham, Brighton, West Ham, and finally Manchester United among our
Mm.
best teams in terms of the fixture quality.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, looks good. So
Mm-hmm.
probably we need to invest in Man City then, even though yeah they do have the blank in game week 18, and I think everybody is still wondering what happened to Haaland and if he will be back for game week 17. So probably we will not learn a lot during the next days. We'll probably just
Mm-hmm.
have to be patient, or maybe Pep will surprise us during the next press conference. Apparently, he sounded more positive yesterday, so let's see. And then yeah, you covered Man United. They struggle. That's an understatement. Also in the defense, unfortunately, now it seems Shaw got injured again, so
Yeah.
they really have a lot of injuries. And yeah, Salah with Liverpool, they play at home at Anfield, so it's a good game. And I think some other people pointed out on Twitter as well that Salah has quite a good track record against United, even though I think you and I talked about it before. It's quite
Mm-hmm.
difficult to put too much value in that. There's not, I think, really a scientific proof that you
I
can
hope it's
always.
true. I mean, Salah will be
Yeah,
my captain.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, it's more like I guess players can have favorite teams they like to play
Yeah.
against,
Yeah.
and
Maybe.
yeah. And Salah is in great form, of course, in terms of
Mm-hmm.
goal scoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another trend we can see probably is that some teams seem to get quite tired now in this busy season. And
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle, one example, they're also playing a big game tonight
Yeah.
against Milan for the Champions League. So yeah, also struggling with injuries. So Newcastle, like for me, I have, and I think most of us probably have a Newcastle defender, but I'm not sure if I will play him against Fulham, who's also the informed team at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. Okay, great. So these are the top teams. Let's take
Mm-hmm.
a look at the bottom teams.
And before we move on, I just
Yeah.
want to mention. So we mentioned this last time, but I need to mention it again. Some of these Manchester City point averages for the future game weeks, like 20, 21, 22. Not so much 20 probably, but yeah, they have some increase because of the possible
Hmm.
double game week. So it's
Right.
not that Manchester City's projected point averages against Newcastle is 5.2 offensively. It is against Newcastle
Okay.
and plus the probability of having a double. I think
Okay.
there's
So
some
that's kind of
percentage.
factored in, some kind of
Yeah.
probability.
So
Yeah.
it is split between some of these potential game weeks, but yeah,
Right.
when it's announced, we will have a better picture in mind.
Yeah.
And for the worst teams, we have Sheffield
Yeah.
United topping this chart. They have Chelsea this week, and then Aston Villa next week, and then
Yeah.
Manchester City in game week 20. So both like all of these are unfavorable fixtures.
Yeah.
And then in the second rank we have Luton Town, and then Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Brentford, Wolves, Fulham, Everton, and finally Bournemouth at
Hmm.
the end of this chart. Um, yeah,
Okay.
not much to talk about these teams, I guess.
No. Yeah, I mean, we covered it before. You could maybe be a bit surprised that Crystal Palace is showing up so high here, meaning that they're one of the worst teams. While actually in the table, they're not that bad. I think we also saw that they gave Liverpool quite a difficult game in last game week.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just that they have really tough fixtures, right? They play against
Yes,
City
it is.
now, also then Chelsea, Arsenal, all coming up. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a difficult run for
Mm-hmm.
them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Let's look at the odds then for
Mm-hmm.
next game week.
Again, RobT FPL prepare these game week odds, and
Yeah.
looks like I mean, most of the things are as expected. So just like last game week, the team with the highest clean sheet probability is Manchester City with 52%. And guess who has the optimal goalkeeper? I do. I didn't get the clean
Yeah.
sheet last time, but I'm hoping
Did it
that
work
I
for
will.
you? No, it
It
didn't.
did. Well, this time it will.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the surprising thing is Manchester City's expected goal against Crystal Palace is 2.8, and it's
Right.
the exact same number for Liverpool against Manchester United. That's how bad
Uh-huh.
things are for Manchester United, I think.
Yeah.
And this is Liverpool's like third highest projected goal in the entire season so far.
Okay.
Like
Wow.
2.8 is quite quite big, and clean sheet probability for Manchester United is only 6%. So
Hmm.
um, looks pretty interesting. And
Looks like the United fans will have a tough weekend, apparently.
yeah, well, that's what the models assume, but we will
Yeah,
see.
that's what the model is saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm hoping, of course, that Chelsea will perform because I betted on them
yeah,
in my team. I have Sterling and Palmer, but yeah, last week Sterling was on the bench, so it's a bit of a rotation risk there. But so I hope they will play and hope they will do well. Let's see.
yeah. And for people who are listening, Chelsea's expected goal average is 2.6.
Yeah,
And so Sheffield United's clean sheet probability is only 7%. So there's a big chance given to Chelsea about their goal scoring
yeah,
ability, I should say.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think the Newcastle against Fulham one is quite interesting. The clean sheet odds for Newcastle are 32%.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's decent, but I think you could expect it to be higher. But I think it reflects that Newcastle, as we just discussed, they might look a little bit tired. They struggle a bit with injuries, and on the other hand, Fulham, they won now 2 times with 5-0, so they've been impressive.
Yeah.
So that will be an interesting game, I think.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope my goalkeeper will be back, Sanchez. But we'll talk about it
Mm-hmm.
later. Not much news about him yet. Yeah. All right, so yeah, we covered the fixture ticker and we looked at the odds. The next chart is the individual player charts, looking at the changes in EV.
Mm-hmm.
And first, the ones that have been gaining.
Yeah. So again, we are using FPL Chase's idea here and his template
Yep.
for these top like EV changes.
Yeah.
And at the top of the chart, we have Eze with
Okay.
9.2 EV increase over the next 6 game weeks.
All right.
Pretty high.
Yeah.
And then in the second,
So he was injured, so I guess the model is assuming that he'll be back soon.
yeah, I think yeah, for this game week it's on at 0.25, not a big
Right.
change.
Yeah.
Slightly increased, but for
Yeah.
you can see that in game week 20 it is 2.28 higher,
Yeah.
and in game week
Yeah.
22 it's 2.67.
Right.
So yeah, I think models are thinking that he will be back in two
Yeah.
or three game weeks of time.
Right. Okay.
And in the second rank we have Turner uh, of Nottingham Forests, and his EV increased 4.9 over the next 6 game weeks, and his EV increased especially for these like upcoming 2 game weeks, game week 17 and 18.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realize it, to be honest. Only just when we were talking here, preparing for the pot, that Turner got his spot back in the previous game. So
mhm,
that's quite
mhm.
an interesting development.
Yeah,
Yeah. So let's see
and
if this will be like a Brighton scenario where the goalkeepers will take turns, or whether Turner for the longer term looks like a viable option again. It's
yeah,
something we'll have
yeah,
to wait and see.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so in the third place we have Richarlison, who played in the last game, and then
Yeah.
he scored a goal, right?
Yeah.
Even, and then his
Yeah.
EV increases 3.73, and 1.05 of it is coming only from this game week alone. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's expected to start or like have enough play time, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also because Richarlison had, for a lot of the game, he had the number 9 position, and Son moved to the left. and
Mm-hmm.
it worked quite well, right? Son did well, Richarlison did well, and the coach Ange, he also said afterwards that he quite liked that setup. So
Yeah,
yeah, that
so that.
could look good for Richarlison in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And because of it, I think Richarlison is also in the optimal wildcard team.
All
We
right.
will talk about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And then Botman is like his EV increased 3.35 over the next six
All
game
right.
weeks, and
Mhm.
not for this game week. It's only 0.12, but the majority of this increase is coming from game week 19, where his EV is increased 0.91. So I think models are assuming that he will be back by game
Yeah.
week 19 ish.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and then going over the list, we have Kabore from Luton, Adebayo from again Luton, Boli, Nottingham Forest, Fabianski from West Ham, Adingra in ninth
Mhm.
position, and then finally Grealish, the last as the last player in this chart,
Oh,
whose
yeah.
EV increased. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I
Um.
think he's playing all the games. I think there was a leaked lineup for tomorrow's European League game, and
Oh.
apparently he will start again. So
Okay.
yeah, let's hope he will stay fit and stay healthy, so we can keep
So he's
playing.
he's nailed. You're saying
Looks like it. Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
consideration for you at one point?
No, not for me. But
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
well, Brighton is an interesting team. Sorry, because they managed to score every game so far. It's just quite difficult to bet on it there. Like who will play, who will score. It's a bit more difficult for Brighton, I would say.
yeah,
Okay, so these were the top players that gained an EV. So now we will look at the ones that dropped an EV.
sure. And most of these players are obviously players who got injured or
Yeah,
got suspended or a
yeah,
question because of like, it could be a rotation risk or maybe an injury concern.
yeah,
But we have James at the top of this chart who lost
yeah,
5.8 EV over the next 6 game weeks, and majority of it is coming from this game week 3.2. But I think he's out longer, so this should be spread towards other game weeks. But most models didn't update it, so most models are just seeing that he's red flagged and then they're just instantly dropping the EV
yeah,
for this game week, but it takes a while for them to realize that, oh wait, this this player is out for longer term.
yeah.
So
Okay.
hopefully towards the deadline we will get a better picture, but yeah, he will be at the
Yeah.
top again.
Well, I saw something on Twitter saying that he might be out for 3 months. So I don't know if that got confirmed or not. But so it sounds quite serious, and so of course very unfortunate and very sad because yeah, sometimes we joke a little bit about it here in this podcast, right? Whenever he comes back, we always say,
Yeah,
let's see how long he will last. But yeah, it's really unfortunate because he's such a great player.
yeah,
But he keeps struggling with injuries. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And in the second rank, we have Rem from Fulham, and his EV is lost, especially for game week 18, around 1.2. And then
Okay.
in total, it has 5 EV over the next 6 game weeks. Not sure why.
No.
And in the third rank, we have Trippier, who lost 4.7 EV for the next game week. And you said he was suspended, or
Yeah. Trippier is suspended.
okay,
And I'm just looking at Ream. So again, maybe something we didn't notice, but he didn't play in the last 2 games.
okay.
So before that, each game he played 90 minutes, and now he has 2 games with 0 minutes. So it looks like he lost his spot.
And is he marked in
No,
FPL? Okay.
no, no, he's not. Yeah, it's an interesting one because a few weeks ago, I think people were sometimes commenting on that. Fulham was going for a good run of fixtures. Some people were talking about Castagne, and then I think some other folks recommended to go for Ream because he's more nailed.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, it's not the case anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
And in the fourth place, we have Haaland, who lost 3.4 EV for this game week.
yeah,
Well, again, I think it will be bigger if it's confirmed that he will be out. If it is confirmed, I should say. and again, his EV for the next game weeks didn't change much.
No.
It's only changed because of the team strengths are getting updated.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see. We will see.
Yeah.
And in the fifth place, we have Morris from Luton Town. His EV decreased across the horizon. I mean, almost every game week it is 0.5 EV loss. Not sure again about what this is related to.
I think he also lost a spot. Just looking at it
Oh,
again, last game he only played 18 minutes. The game before that he played 29 minutes.
hmm,
So he's been coming on as a
minute
sub.
risk. Yeah.
Yeah, minutes risk.
Okay. Um, and then we have Fernandez, who lost 3.6 EV for next game week.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
suspension.
suspension. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then Douglas Lewis, 3.3. Is he also
yeah.
suspended?
Also, yeah,
Oh my god, so many. Are these
yeah,
all yellow card suspensions?
yeah. 5 yellow cards. I think there were quite some players who had four, and they all got one
Oh,
in the previous or in the recent game week. Yeah.
got it, got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the eighth spot, we have Nkunku from Chelsea, who lost 3 EV, and most of it is coming from this game week.
No, that's
And
interesting because he's been pictured in training. So I saw some people talking about him that he might play this weekend, but maybe the
okay.
model is not so sure. Yeah.
Not sure what this one
No.
is related to then. And then we have Wood in ninth place, and finally Isaac in 10th place, who lost EV.
And that's, I think, because Wilson is back, right?
Yeah.
Wilson's played in the previous game and he scored
Mm-hmm.
a goal.
So it's a minute Wilson
So,
again. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Very useful as always.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially with the suspension, something to keep an eye on. As yeah, indeed, a lot of players are on 4 yellow cards. Some of them received their fifth, but there's still some left with 4 yellows. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then I think we can move to the optimal team.
Optimal wildcard team. Uh, I mentioned this to you, but when I was running this earlier, I forgot to enable the wildcard option. And then I
Right.
was really surprised that this team looks really like my own team, like, and I was really happy. Then I realized I didn't
Yeah.
enable the wildcard option, but
Ah, yes.
well, there's still lots of like intersection. We have Ederson in the goal, and then in defense we have Gabriel, Colville, Alexander Arnold, and Pedro Porro. And in
Yeah.
midfield we have Salah, Richarlison, and Son.
Okay.
And in forward we have Watkins, Solanke, Alvarez. And in the bench we have Leno, Andreas, Paul, and Douglas Lewis. Um, it's an interesting team. It rolls the transfer in game week 18, and then in game week 19 it buys Zinchenko by selling Pedro Porro, and in game
Ah,
week 20 it sells Salah for Eze and upgrades Solanke to Haaland,
okay.
and then in game week 21 it replaces Son with Saka. So
Wow.
I mean, these transfers make sense. I mean, they're sensible transfers, I will say. And then it starts without Haaland because of I assume this the uncertainty around Haaland's minutes as of now. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, it's an interesting team.
Yeah, it makes sense. On the other hand, I think so far we've seen that the big players have been performing, right? Like Salah, Son, maybe Haaland a little bit less, but those guys I would say are quite fixture proof. I mean, I sold Son 2 weeks ago and I quite regret it.
Hmm.
Because whenever Tottenham scores a goal, it's very likely that he's involved, and they play very attacking football, as we know. So yeah, I'm not sure if I would do that again, selling Son for the team.
So you disagree with the model selling Son for Saka later
Yeah,
in the
well,
season? Yeah.
I mean, it's a decision I made as well because I was thinking if I sell Son, then what I did, I got Sterling and Sterling and who else did I get in attack? Oh, sorry. We need to do this again. What did I do again? Oh yeah, I went for Darwin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, I know because it's a consideration I had as well, and that's what I did. I sold Son because then I could spread the funds. So I got Sterling and Darwin instead. So it helped me to get, let's say, on paper, a better attacker. But
Hmm.
yeah, didn't really work out. So that's of course also again in hindsight. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the season so far, as I said, I think the big names are quite reliable. In a way, it makes the game also boring. I think some people commented on that as well, right? Because a lot of the teams have the same names, have the same players. But yeah, I think if you want to do well in the game, yeah, you need to go for the reliable players.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a bit my conclusion now. Yes.
Yeah. Again, like as I always say,
Yeah.
like going for Sterling or like these kind of decisions. I mean, we often look from the hindsight perspective. I mean, Son had a tough fixture, no
Yeah.
question about it. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, him getting 17 points that really hurt your dream.
Yeah. 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 And I'm still hoping Sterling will pay back the trust I had
Yeah.
in him with the game now coming up against Sheffield. So, maybe next week I'll be smiling. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, but for the rest,
Mm-hmm.
no strange things there. I think, yeah, Bournemouth's been doing really well and some good upcoming games. So I think Solanke can definitely be a consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right. Anything else you wanted to cover on this one, or otherwise we can move to the captaincy chart?
We Before moving to the captaincy, let's talk
Oh
about
yeah,
AFCON and Asian Cup dates.
yeah.
Again,
Good
RobT
point.
FPL from our Discord prepared this graphic. You might have seen it on Twitter. I think some bigger accounts also shared it. But yes, starting with the African Cup of Nations. So there are some key players who won't be available in Game Week 21. So let's
Yeah.
go over those players first. We have Onana, Mubemo, Salah, Decor, Kudus, Adingra, Avoni, Vissa, Foster, and Jackson. They
Oh,
won't
okay.
be available in Game Week 21.
Right.
And then in Game Week 22, it is a question mark for teams who do not proceed to the round of 16. And
Right.
for teams who move to the round of 16, they won't be available again. And then in the quarter, for those teams who made it to the quarterfinal, those players won't be available in Game Week 23.
Yeah.
And for the semi-final and the final, those players won't be available in Game Week 24. And again, every game week right after that is a question mark because they will
Yeah.
be traveling, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we will see like which teams will proceed in the tournament, but this makes the EV projections a little bit tricky for models because they also need to predict when their
Uh,
teams will be eliminated from the tournament so that they will be
right.
back. But
Yeah.
and similarly, the Asian Cup is very much similar in terms of which dates the players won't be available.
Yeah.
And the key players here are Tomiyasu, Son, Mitoma, and Hee-chan.
Yeah.
Um, None of them will be available in Game Week 21. And then depending on where they end up with, so round of 16, Game Week 22 is out. For quarters and semifinals, Game Week 23 is a no. And for teams who made it to the final, Game Week 24 will be those players will be unavailable, and obviously the winner won't be available. And then the game week after that is again there's a risk because of travel. But yeah, by
Yeah.
game week 26, all of them will be back. So
Okay.
after that, we will need to deal with the blanks and doubles instead.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I think it's something that we need to start considering now with our transfer plans.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it, it can also make FPL quite interesting, I think, yeah, because some
Yeah,
popular options like Salah and Son,
yeah,
well, in the
yeah.
worst case, you'll be missing them 4 to 5 weeks.
Yes.
They play for good countries, Egypt and Korea, so likely they will make it through, yeah, one of the final rounds. So I think at least you should count on 3 weeks missing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
like likely 4 weeks. So yeah, we'll have to look for other options that can make the game quite interesting again, I think.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. All right, cool. Thanks for covering that. Thanks,
Mm-hmm.
Rob, as well. And I think after this one, then we can move to the captaincy chart. Yes.
Captaincy, the optimal captain this week is Salah, who's
Okay.
playing against Manchester United, which is interesting
Yes.
because you usually see players who are playing against, some of the weaker teams as optimal
Yeah.
captains. So Manchester United is an interesting thing to see here. His
Mm-hmm.
point average across all the models is 7.32,
Okay.
and then we have Son in the second place
Yeah.
in this chart, and his EV average is 6.3.
Yeah.
So almost one EV between Salah and Son. And then we have
Hmm.
Solanke, Saka, and Palmer in the fifth place in the ensemble. So meaning the
Hmm.
average of these models.
Yeah.
But Solanke is the optimal captain in fantasy football fixes model. He's ahead of Salah, very close, but he's like 0.13 higher than Salah. And then I see Palmer and Sterling in second and third places in Fantasy Football Scott's model. So
Mm-hmm.
seeing Sterling here maybe made your heart, get warmer a little bit.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm happy that the scout is projecting it because the rest of the models don't have much trust in Chelsea, it seems. Yeah. But
um,
they have a good fixture, of course, at home against
Sheffield,
Sheffield. So
yeah.
I was thinking to go for a Chelsea player as captain.
Oh, you
But
do?
yeah, looking at everyone talking about Salah now, and yeah, it is an appealing game, of course. Liverpool is in good form. United is not. United is struggling with a lot of injuries. Now also Bruno suspended, so they will be quite weak. Very low on trust. So yeah, Liverpool might have a nice game, I guess.
So that's one thing Data and Grass is agreeing probably, maybe.
Yes. On the other hand, Eric Ten Hag, he's a fellow Dutchman, so
Yes.
I hope he can still turn things around, but it's not looking really good for him, I must say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And
So that covered the captaincy.
And before we
Uh,
move to the closing part and also mini league
yeah.
updates, can you talk about which jersey you're wearing today?
Oh, today, well, I was thinking because I'm out of jerseys, so I'm just wearing the Liverpool one again because they are the league leaders and they have a good game. So I thought, yeah, they deserve it. I should
So
wear
you
it again.
made your decision already with the captaincy after all.
I don't know. That
Maybe.
goes a bit too far.
Yeah,
One
okay.
change I did make this today, I had Tsimikas on the bench, but I put
Hmm.
him in the team instead of Shar. So I was thinking, well, Newcastle against Fulham. In Newcastle, I thought, well, I have to play Shar. But after the previous game, considering that they have a tough game in the Champions League, and considering that Fulham is in form, I thought let's go for Tsimikas.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, close call.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention for people who still have a wild card to keep in mind that you should use it pretty soon. I think you can use it until game week 20 or before game week 20.
Hmm.
So yeah, just a few game weeks left. Something to keep in mind. And then I still wanted to ask you if you already have any plans for the upcoming game week. Any changes? And
Um,
captaincy will be on Salah, I suppose.
Captaincy will be on Salah for sure. And
Okay.
I think when I checked the model earlier, it was selling Archer for Solanke, but not
Okay.
sure if that's the move I will do.
All
We will
right.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how about you?
Yeah, I need to monitor the goalkeeper situation. I hope we'll get some news in the press
Hmm.
conference on Friday. Yeah, as I mentioned last week, I brought in Sanchez, but then yeah, he got injured during the game, so that was really unfortunate. And I also don't have a playing reserve goalkeeper, so maybe I'll just go for a better reserve goalkeeper, so I have that as a backup. And for the rest, yeah, I don't think I'll be making changes. The team looks quite good, even though it will be a risk again to go without Son. But I'll probably just have to stick to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for the captaincy, we already talked about it. So either a Chelsea player or Salah, I still need to decide.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, did we cover everything from your side,
Yes.
Sertalp? Okay, great. Then let's still look at the mini league. We have 351 participants, so it went up again. Thanks for joining, everyone. And you can still join, it's still open if you want to. The code is 0JSDLA. Matthew Allen capped the number one spot with his team Grand Haven Broncos. He had a game week score of 67 points and a total score now of 1,050 points, which makes him the number 207 in the world. Very impressive.
Yes.
Congratulations, Matthew. And Sertalp and I were saying earlier that we have a lot of really good teams in our mini league.
Yeah, like four teams within the top 1,000, and then all of
Yeah,
these teams on the screen are in the top like almost 2,500. Yeah, they're really
yeah.
good. Yeah,
And we
they're
were
really
hoping that's
good.
because you're listening to the podcast, of course.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really great. It's impressive. On number two, we have the team Doom 9, or actually, that's the manager with the team Bloom. Total score of 1,048 points. And on number three, it's the same manager as last week. It's Hirpal Sahuta with his team FC Sankt Hirpauli with 1,045 points. So well done, all three of you. And just to keep track of our young friend Wyatt Haswell, he dropped to the number five spot, but that happened before, and then he managed to move back again in the top three. So Wyatt, give it a try again. We're rooting for you. Hope it will work.
And if I'm not
um,
mistaken, he hasn't used his wildcard yet.
oh,
So
okay, all right,
yeah,
that's a good one. So that will
we
still
will
come
see.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
he can still jump back. Interesting. Let's see how we will use it. Okay, well, that was it for today. This was FPL Optimized Podcast, episode number 70. Thanks for listening and good luck with making your Game Week 17 decisions. We hope, of course, that your arrow will be green. I certainly hope that mine will be green. Let's see. We'll be back with another episode next week. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is released. And do follow us on Twitter. For Sertop, it's at Sertop Bilal, and for me, it's at Belfi BB. And you can also find FPL Optimized on YouTube.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.
Goodbye.